What's up, guys? Kool-Aid here, and today we're going to talk about the Lightning Tank. We'll cover the weapons a little bit as well as the certification. So let's get started. The first weapon that you have when you get into a Lightning is the C75 Viper, and this thing is pretty much crap. It looks nice. It has 6 rounds, which sounds good, but these rounds do very little damage and have a lot of recoil. Two things that do not work well in conjunction. So you're going to want to replace this thing right away. From there you have 4 options. You have 3 pretty standard tank rounds. I'll cover them last. And then you have the Skyguard, which is going to be your anti-air. Now, the Skyguard, I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm going to compare it a little bit to a Burster Max. And I honestly think the Burster Max is better. The one thing I think the Skyguard has going for it is the mobility. Lightning is going to be a lot more mobile than a slow-moving Burster Max. However, the Skyguard seems to be much more inaccurate and seems to have slower projectile speed. I don't have any exact stats on these, but it just seems like you have to lead things a lot on the Skyguard, and it's just, I'm not a big fan of that. Also, when I do play the Skyguard, it seems like same as any anti-air in this game. It seems like it's just very unrewarding. You might do a good job driving off some air, but you're not going to get paid for it. The best thing I can recommend is if you're absolutely insistent on using a Skyguard, is to team up with another Skyguard or any other anti-air. That's going to net you the best results. As far as optics go on the Skyguard, you're probably just going to want to go with zoom optics. There's no real need for thermal or infrared when it comes to the Skyguard. Just be aware that once you put on the zoom optics, you're gonna have to. It's gonna give the appearance that things are closer. And it's gonna make you feel like you don't have to lead stuff as much. But once you get used to it, it should be fine, and that's probably the best way to go as far as optics go. So next we have the Pythons, and these are your more standard tank weapons. We'll start with the Python AP, and this is your typical anti-armor weapon. Now, again, I'm not a huge fan of this either, because no matter how good you are in a Lightning, if you go head-to-head against a main battle tank of an equally skilled player, he's going to beat you every time. This is not completely useless or anything. You will dominate other Lightnings, unless, of course, they're using the anti-armor or AP rounds as well. And one other thing, if you're really good at shooting while on the move, I mean, if you can stay going completely mobile while firing these landing shots, you still do have a good chance of taking out MBTs. I mean, it's just going to be a little bit harder. No matter how good of aim you are, while driving full speed over rugged terrain, it's hard to land shots in a tank. So these aren't horrible, but not really my recommendation. As far as optics go on these, probably go with zoom, because you're going to want to land some long distance shots. And the Python AP does have a faster bullet or projectile velocity than the other Pythons, so you can get them longer, flatter shots with this. So I probably would go with the zoom optics. However, infrared is never a bad option. You're still going to have to kill the occasional infantry, even though this has a really poor blast radius. You're still going to have to do it from time to time, and infrared makes killing infantry infinitely easier. Next we have the Python Heat, and this is going to be your middle ground with between the 3 Python weapons, between the high explosive and the AP. If you remember, for the Vanguard or main battle tank, this is what I recommended for those. This is not a bad option at all. You're going to be able to kill infantry pretty easy with this, and you're still going to do considerable damage to other armor. Now, as far as optics go on these, I would recommend the infrared. Basically because I don't think you're going to be sitting too far away having to use the zoom optics with this. And honestly, I think most things you can hit with zoom optics, you can pretty much hit without them. The infrared is really great for picking up targets that are disguised in mountains or anything like that, or just seeing any infantry around you in general. This isn't my #1 recommendation. I'm saving that for last. but this is a good option. So that does bring me to my #1 recommendation, which is the Python High Explosive. And this is all out infantry. This is going to have the biggest blast radius. It is going to have the slowest projectile speed, but that is not that big a deal in this because you don't have to be dead on because you're going to get that blast radius. Now this is going to do piss poor damage against other armor, and basically if you see other armor and you don't have any backup, you're going to want to retreat. You're not going to want to take these head on whatsoever. It's just you're not doing a lot of damage. That's the best way I can say it. When it comes to killing air and stuff with this, you're not going to one-shot anything with these weapons. It kind of sucks if you can land a nice shot, and unless they're already damaged, they're just going to fly off. Unless you can hit them again, which I've actually done multiple times, and it's kind of neat. But it is disappointing that you can't one-shot the ESFs with these. Now, as far as the rest of the attachments go for these weapons, magazine capacity, it's important depending on how big of streaks you think you're going to be going on and how often you want to go back and reload. I mean, it's not necessary to go real deep into this, but it is really annoying when you run out of ammo in a good spot. I did that earlier tonight and died because of it. It really sucked. So I would at least suggest getting the cheap ones of these. As far as reload speed goes, same thing that I talked about for the main battle tanks. Way overpriced for what you're getting. 2% is just not worth it unless you are a dedicated lightning driver, and then still you have to do it for each weapon, so you pretty much have to be dedicated to that one weapon as well. So just not worth it at this point, I don't think. And that will bring us to the certifications part of the video. First, you have the acquisition timer, of course, and this again just depends on how often you think you're going to need to respawn lightnings, and if you absolutely have to be in a lightning once yours gets blown up anyway. If you're really dedicated, I would go out to the 200 cert mark. Out there after that, it gets real expensive and probably not really worth it unless you're a super dedicated lightning driver. In which case, go as far as you want, and that's completely up to you. But it's a pretty big cert investment. For the utility slot, we have the IR smoke, the radar, and the fire suppression system. Now, I, at first glance, wanted to go with the radar, and it is the most expensive, but after thinking about it, I ended up going with the IR smoke. The reason being, the radar only starts at 20 meters and increases 10 meters. Now, if you got this up to 50 meters, that would be a pretty solid proximity radar. However, since I basically use infrared as all my optics, I don't really have a problem letting infantry get too close to me. Does it happen? Sure, but it's not very often. And the IR smoke, even though I wasn't a fan of it for the main battle tanks, has saved my butt a few times, even just today. For example, I had two heavies locking onto me earlier, and I had no idea where they were locking me from, other than the fact that I could see the trail after the first couple hit me. The IR smoke, gave me that 6 seconds of inability for them to lock me, gave me a time to retreat, heal back up or repair back up, and come out on top of the situation. I just think out of the three, it's probably going to be the best. And even for each additional tier you go into it, even though it does get quite costly towards the end, does a significant increase. It does reduce the cooldown on it by 5 seconds each tier, and you can get it all the way down to 15 seconds. Now the fire suppression system, I'm just not sold on that for anything. I don't know, I just feel like you can get out and repair. If you're that low already, you might be either screwed or you should be out repairing. So I'm just not a big fan of the fire suppression system. If I didn't go with IR smoke, I'd probably go with the proximity radar. Now for defensive slot, we have the nano auto repair system, and this is absolute garbage. This is the self-repair that anytime you get hit, it quits working for 11 seconds or less depending on how many points into it, but maxed out after you spend almost 1,000 certs in this, you're only going to get a repair of 3.33% damage every 5 seconds. It's not worth it. If you're not taking damage and you're not full, then you should be repairing anyway. It's just how it is, and I don't find that useful whatsoever. Next, you have stealth, and this isn't the worst thing in the world, but it gets really expensive for the last tier. And with IR smoke, I don't think it's going to matter as much. Sure, it would be nice, but it's not going to. It's only going to work against lock-on missiles, first of all, which isn't where the majority of your damage is going to come from. So then we have the mine guard, and again, still not running into a lot of mines. If I do, it's actually people laying them right under my nose. And like I said, I don't have problem with infantry getting up too close to me very often. So I'm going to rule the mine guard out for now. Although if a lot of people start using mines or more often, that's a decent. It's cheap, and it does reduce the damage by 60% when maxed out. And maxed out is only going to cost you 330 total certs. So it's something to keep an eye on, but I'm going to ignore it for now. And that brings us to our reinforced armors. Like the main battle tanks, we have reinforced top armor or front armor. You're going to get a 10% increase with this. We have reinforced top armor, which is going to give you another 10% increase. Or we have the reinforced side armor, which is going to give 15% increase. And my philosophy with this is pretty much the same it is with the main battle tanks. And for those, I recommended reinforced side armor. I just feel that's where you're going to get hit the most. And with the lightnings, you get an extra 5% over the other front and top armor bonuses. So that is what I would recommend. I do like it. I've been using that for a while now, and it does seem to come in handy. So last we have the performance slot, and out of these two, I really don't think you can go wrong. With my main battle tank, I went with the combat chassis because I wanted the reverse speed, the improved reverse speed. And with this, I'm going all racer high speed. I just want to see how fast I can go in these things. I'll be honest with you, this is more just for straight up fun than actual usefulness. Now, I don't really know yet to a full extent which one of these will pay off more in the long run. I went with the combat chassis on my main battle tank so I could get the reverse speed, so I could get out of trouble without having to expose my rear end. With the lightning, I was thinking a little bit more. I wanted to just stay going forward all the time anyway. Plus, like I said, I just wanted to have fun and see how fast I can actually get these things up to. I have 2 tiers right now, and I will say I can go, I think, a little bit over 80 kilometers an hour in these things. So it's pretty fun, and the faster takeoff is noticeable. So I will do a video showing you guys just exactly what the 3rd tier of Racer High Speed Chassis looks like, probably later this week. So anyways, guys, that's pretty much all I have on the Lightning. These are really, really good tools to use or vehicles to use when you put the right weapons and use them correctly. If you like this video, guys, please throw me a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to ask any questions. I'll do my best to answer them. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to y'all later.